this New Zealand Business Application Summit. I'm happy to be here. Thank you guys for organizing. Um, thank you also to the sponsors, Olympic 33, DXC Technology, Microsoft, H2A Technology. Yeah, without the sponsors, we know this couldn't have happened. We know how well the sponsors come in and support us in all these summits and conferences that we do. So big shout out to them. A little bit about myself. My name is Chime. A bit of background as well. I've worked within Dynamics and Power Platform for quite some years now, 7, 8 years. I've also worked in different various sectors, public government, insurance, banking, healthcare, more into like the public government. I'm based in UK. And when I say UK, I live in Kent. If you know Kent, about an hour from London. And that's where I'm based. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer and also a Microsoft Biz Apps MVP. My passion lies in this kind of community activities, just sharing my knowledge, within the community. I also work for a Microsoft partner, where I'm a senior software consultant. So working across, all the business application stack. Yeah, I've got my details. I'm on LinkedIn active. I'm on Twitter. You can also just use that QR code to connect with me as well. So the topic I'm going to be talking about today is more on the navigating the Power Platform. So the Power Platform Administration Center, which is PPAC. So how do you optimize your environment? Like I said, I work within these different sectors, right? I've also worked as an administrator before, but we know like things are continuously changing. And within the Power Platform landscape ecosystem, it is continuously changing. Different waves, different updates. There's new features, those are in preview. So with the clients and the company that I work for, there's always, citizen developers going into Power Platform now, trying to just navigate, just basically like where are things? Where are things? So this is where I'm going to be focusing my session on. Where are things within the Power Platform Admin Center? Yeah. The Power Platform Admin Center is a mouthful, so it's shortened down to PPAC. That's what I'll be calling it, and that's what a lot of people call it as well. It's more like this central base, like a hub, right? Where admins can come in, manage your environment, set up your environments for Power Apps, Power Automate, all the different third-party customer engagement applications. You can just set up your environments and go from there. Yeah. There's also a lot that goes on within this PPAC area, where now we have, Center of Excellence, COE, where a lot of people go into and, look into different info and different settings or different applications that they're building. But we also know like some organizations that you can just go in and install COE, especially as an example, like I've worked with clients where, even as an admin, you can just go up and set up that. So the PPAC is an area where you can, see lots of features. I mean, it can just keep you going as an administrator. Yeah. Since 2016, I presume that we've had the Power Platform Admin Center now. Since that 2016, there's been like less that you can do, but now there's a lot. So it's like your first point of contact as an administrator. There's lots of out of box features that you can get there. Monitoring, there's licensing, there's features, there's data policies, a lot more. And that's what we are going to be covering as part of this session as well. Okay. So let me just kickstart. I've got an agenda here. So agenda is my, or the access to how do you even access it? What are the capabilities, different environment groups down to security, analytics, billing. Where do you, go and curate your Microsoft support tickets and all the different important product features that you can find. Okay. Let me just say that 1 hour is not going to be enough. 40 minutes to cover all this. Yeah, it's not going to. There's been lots of blog posts, YouTube's tutorials. I've got some blog posts on this as well. Lots of, people within the community have written about PPAC, very well detailed blogs that can give you more in-depth. So like I said, this is just more like an overview, like introductory. Where do you go to assess some of these things? Yeah. So let's just kickstart off by, what assets do you actually need? Yeah. So if you have an account as a global administrator role in Microsoft 365, yeah, within your tenants, automatically you have the Power Platform Administrator role. By default, that will be there. So if you look at my screen on roles, where do you manage your roles? You can also be able to see that. Yeah. When you expand on those roles, if you do have the global administrator role, you also see that your accounts have access to PPAC as well. Yeah, that's one way that you can see it. And also within your Microsoft 365 Admin Center, right? So you can also go in there, look at your administration centers, click into Power Apps or Power Automate, and directly will take you to your admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com. Yeah, or simply AKA MSP Pack. Yeah, that also directs you to the link of the Power Platform Administrator portal. Okay. So I'll just show you that, but this is kind of like the dashboard overview of what it actually looks like. If you have not seen it before, I believe most of us here have. So we've got this the landing page. Okay, so this is the landing page, and it's very important. The first page that you see, lots of personalizations on this landing page. You can also see I would say the two most important ones, which is the service health, like cards, and also the message center cards. Okay, they are very important, I would say, for the PPAC portal. Yeah. If you look at the service health, that will give you more like an oversight. This is my developer plan environment. There's nothing really much going on, but if there's, for example, anything, whether Microsoft, if you're experiencing like any advisory, if you want to know about any incident, I believe it will pop up here by Microsoft telling you like, yeah, maybe Power Automate is down or something like that. If you also look on the right hand side on the message center, this is also where you can get some heads up, like if there's any updates, if there's any new features or any deprecations on the Power Platform. For example, Power Automate Cloud Flows automatically defined, just like messages. Okay, so this is where, as an administrator, just click on Land Zone and just look at the message center. If there's anything, very important, as an administrator, that will actually help you kind of like, tell people what's going on. Yeah. On the other cards as well, you got some documentation. So there's various, Microsoft Learning articles on here that you can also just go in and read up on. You've also got some, kind of like recommendations around any, for example, data loss prevention policies, or also some advisor as well. I'll come into that because you also have advisor on the navigation now. On the left-hand side navigation, you also have that as well. Okay. What are the capabilities of, the PPAC? So like I said, this is where you can come in, you can view, you can curate, and you can manage your environments. Okay, so if you look on the left-hand side navigation, you've got all those capabilities down there. We do have environment groups as well, which is kind of like newish on the PPAC portal, but this is where you can manage, your group access, your policies, your compliance across all your multiple environments. We also have analytics now, so more kind of like a detailed, high level. I see that as a high level view. So kind of like your metrics around your Power Platform applications. You kind of like, see some metrics on there. Billing on this side, it's more of a summary of all your environments and your tenants, any licensing attention or consumption within an environment. You also be able to see that on there. The new one that just came up not too long ago is settings. So you can also manage settings for all your environments in your tenants by just looking on that navigation. Newish, which is also was on preview a good few weeks ago. Yes, it's where anything about Copilot. Now we all know, like, yeah, Copilot is like the new in thing that Microsoft is heavily investing on. How do you track it? How do you assess governance around your Copilot features? Where do you assess your educational resources? There's also some way that you can come and see that. Okay. We also have resources, where you can manage your environment, help and support, all the lists or helps that you can get from Microsoft. How do you create support ticket for technical support is also down there. How do you integrate data into Microsoft Dataverse? It's also a very important one. Not, I would say, heavily used or known by a lot of people, but obviously you can integrate your data using your data integration here. Your data gateways, when you have your on-premises data, you can also link that in order to secure your data transfer between on-prem and cloud as well. Yeah. Policies, yes, your data loss prevention policies, your DLP. How do you create those guide rails to help prevent your users from going to an app that you don't want them to go, whether it is on an environment level or a tenant level, is also something that you can see there as well. Yeah. Administration is also there. So like lots of capabilities. And I'll also drill into these capabilities, and I'll also show you that on the screen as well. Yeah. Um, if you don't know, this is somewhere that you can come in and provision your new environment. Okay. So what is an environment? I call that, a safe or a store where you can share and manage your organization's business data. Okay? So your applications, your chatbots, your flows, and all that serves or contains in an environment. Yeah. So this is also where you can manage your security requirements. This is also how you can target your audiences. For example, you can choose to build apps, in a single environment. You might also want to separate your environment. If you're working on an enterprise scale, you might want to have, obviously different, tests, production, UAT. You can just separate your environments, to correspond to different, applications that you're building, or even down to different teams or departments in your organization. Yeah. So you can use that to separate your data. And how do you go about to curate that? Is just also very easy. I've got some environments here, but you cannot just go in and curate a new environment, give your environment a name, and just choose whether you want that or what region you want that environment to be on, what type of environment, whether it's a developer, production, a trial, a sandbox, and also, yeah, lots of some features here. Whether you want to add, a Dataverse data store, yeah, so that you can have some data within that environment is also there as well. I'm not going to go, and do demo on how to create environments here, but it's just to show you, obviously, this is like where you can go and also, provision a new environment, for example. Yeah. Another step that you can also do is obviously like within your environment, like I said, you can define all those your organization settings, like what region do you want those environments to be? Do you want to have a database? Do you want to specify a particular security group? So basically what that means is, do you want to restrict an environment access to people in a particular security group? Say, for example, Entra, in Entra ID, you can actually just have a have a team or a group of people within that you want them to only access that environment. So you can actually use that feature to also give people access to that. So yeah. Assigning licenses is also a very important one. You can also just go on as an administrator, your Microsoft 365 admin center. You can also just go in there by looking on the screen. You can actually choose your active users, for example, and assign licenses to those users, right? So for example, if it's a Dynamics 365 users, or you want people to have access to different applications within that environment that you just created, you can also assign them those licenses as well. So you can also manage environments through that, or manage licenses through that as well. When you do now create your own environments, how do you manage it? When you open up an environment, you'll be able to see details of that environment, for example. So if I just go in and just open one of the environments I've created. So this is my environment that I've created. You can see details of that environment by opening them up. You can also edit to review that particular environment, of course. If you look at the very top screen here, you can obviously make or enable that environment to be a managed environment. I'll also go into that later. But here you can also back up and restore your environment. You can create a manual, you can copy, you can reset an environment, you can convert your environment from a production, for example, to a sandbox environment, or from a sandbox to a production environment. You can do backups to your environment, like I just mentioned. Yes, lots of other things that you can do here. I've actually just started seeing this recently. It can actually show you also members. So if you've got people that are system administrators within that environment, you'll be able to see membership of those people as well. Another thing that I need to also talk about here while we're here is now with generative AI features, you can also just go in and obviously this is not by default. You can go to an environment and click on moving data across regions or enabling your Bing search for that environment. You can also turn that on as well. If you look at the, for example, audit logs, or say, for example, you want to edit a particular environment and set it into administration mode. So if you do that, only a system customizer or an administrator will now have access to that particular environment. So if you have, an app, for example, in that environment, whether it's a Canvas or model-driven app, that you set that environment into administration mode, people that have access, or if that app is obviously accessible to people, they will not be able to see that if you place that in an administrator mode. Okay. Is there any questions so far? Does anybody want to ask any question? Or should I just carry on? Okay. I'll just carry on. So let's talk about another aspect of environments, which is like I said, the settings. So you can view and manage the settings of your environment, okay, by just simply also going into an environment. You can see settings at the very top and corner. So this is obviously where you can go in and say, for example, look at the product, different features, what users and permissions do you want to install? Do you want to put in some security rules to the environment? All these audits and logs. Yeah, this is where you can come in and manage settings for environment. I'll also come back into this and later, so we can pick up very, very cool ones that we kind of look at. For example, when we look at the features of a particular environment. But yeah, this is where you can come in and look at the settings of a particular environment and manage it across your organization. So now, yeah, it's becoming a lot more, I wouldn't say difficult in a sense, but the task of kind of managing Power Platform on a large scale across, different environments is starting to become like a bit of a challenge. Yeah. Even, yeah, to new beginner or even people that are within an enterprise IT team. Yeah. So there's now what we call environment groups. So look at this like a folder. Yeah. So environment groups are kind of like, curated in order to help, administrators just do, some proper organization. So how would they manage this, list of environments? How can they group it into structured groups? Can they group it based on business units, based on project, based on location? So these are some of the things that have come up now. Yeah. So different departments can have, different environments based on, different criteria, basically. So there's some strategies for also using these environment groups moving forward. So different ways on how you can manage these pockets of environments within your tenants. For example, like I said, a global organization can create an environment group for all environments based on each geographic region. For example, it might be a banking sector. They might want to use it for any legal or regulatory requirements, or they can just want to, organize the environments better, yeah, based on their business requirements or their different criteria. Okay, so that's what also come up now. Within that, there's also different elements where it gives you sharing controls, and I'll just quickly show you that now. So if you look at environment groups here, I've got one I've created. So there's also rules, right? There are a unique set of rules. For example, like there's 7 of them at the moment. And you can say, for example, sharing controls, who do you want access? How do you want to limit, Canvas app, for example, that you have within this particular environment? Do you want to exclude a particular security group from seeing it? And blah, blah, blah. You can start, obviously, enforcing governance into your environment by using environment groups as well. Okay. So yes, this came up as well this year, I think early April this year. Advisor. So the way I look at this is Microsoft Power Platform. Obviously, there's lots of governance processes that need to be enforced, and it's becoming a very essential component. When we create our applications and things like that, who uses it, who manages it, who do we assign it to, and all sorts of things like that, right? So having this advisor is quickly to help an administrator to identify any application, any Power Automate flow that has not been used, and maybe that application is also very business critical. It has not been used. Nobody has been assigned. No owner has been assigned to that, app or to that flow in order to mitigate any serious business impact. So looking at the advisor feature, it kind of like gives you more of a comprehensive solution. So admins can go in and just kind of like start looking at managing or securing or making sure that the data and applications are kind of like safeguarded. Yeah. Another cool feature of this advisor as well is, if there's any application that has not been used in the last 60 days, it will also kind of like, pull it up. There's, like recommendations that you're able to give you, what history, what source, what scope, or, whether it's app level, whether it's on a tenant level, that hasn't been used in the last 60 days. Yeah. So it's also cool as an administrator, if it's not being used or it's not going to be used anymore, you can also remove it as well. So you can actually maintain kind of like a proper structure within your tenant. Yeah. So I think that's a very important, nice feature that is on the P pack now as well. Yeah. Like I said, it came about early this year. Another new one, which is still in preview, and I'm just talking about it, but I know it's still there. So the security page on the admin center just kind of like helps you to manage your security basically. So within your organization, what are the best practices, what are the security features, what are the safest way possible that you can secure your applications and your data. Yeah. So looking on the screen, I'll just put that up there as well. Let's go into security. So The yeah, basically like looking at the cards as well, you can just use this to kind of like, assess your security status. You can add on different types of recommendation. There's also some documentation around, readiness and what are the auditing possibilities. If there's any security assessments that you want to give, or it gives a summarized, security assessment for your tenant. Yeah. So whether it's a standard, whether it's enhanced, whether it's advanced, that this assessment is kind of like, based on system recommendations. So all these recommendations on the right hand side, on your IP firewall, the tenant isolation. I don't want to talk too much about it because obviously this is still on preview, but I hope Microsoft, really keeps this, because, they're kind of like, looking at towards that, identification when it comes to Azure, and yeah, and security and things like that, which I think, is or has been missing a little bit in Power Platform. Yeah. So they're trying to bring that into the Power Platform ecosystem as well. Yeah. So it's different formulas. How do you calculate your security assessment? Impact, divided by, any possible impact, total achieved impact divided by any possible impact. I think that's how you come about this score. But yeah, it's something that is coming, and I hope it stays. It goes GA. This is another one, analytics. On the analytics on the left-hand side, navigation, where you can now quickly view all your adoption, all your user metrics for your organization. So it's broken down into 4 areas. So you've got your Dataverse, you've got your Power Automate, you've got your Power Apps, and also your data exports as well. Yeah. So for all these applications, apart from data exports, I think that it analyzes all the different things for the previous 31 days. So if it's obviously more than 31 days, you will not be able to extract any information going back. And I would also like us to just quickly see that. If I go into Dataverse, so this is like the home tab. And also another good thing for us to know is these are kind of like reports, and they. So yeah, Power BI embedded reports. Admins also have to have a role to obviously view these reports in Dataverse. So your Power Platform admin, yes. So if you're Dynamics 365 admin, I think you can also see that. If you're global admin, you can also see some of these reports as well on your environment. Yeah. So the default dashboard, which is on the home tab. Okay. So what this actually just gives you is, yeah, what are the active users, the API calls, executions, and API pass rates. You can also change filters and, drill down into your dates and things like that. So what are the unique users? It will also be able to tell you, especially on my one, saying 9 unique users. So these are like, 9 unique users that have performed an operation within my my tenant. So operations, basically, like, have I created, have I deleted, have I, retrieved or updated any data. We've got our API calls as well. So any API calls that has been made by the Dataverse environment, you'll also be able to tell you that. Any API pass rate call is saying 100% at the moment. But yeah, it also shows you the percentage of your total API calls as well. The chat will also show you any execution. I don't have any in place, but if there's any plugins that have been executed within your Dataverse environment over a specified period of time, you'll also be able to tell you that as well. Okay. So yeah, so you got all those things. You got API statistics. You got your mailbox usage, which is also quite cool, I think. And you're able to see your number of server-side sync enabled in mailboxes, and yeah, all types of things based on your region as well. You'll also be able to tell you that. Okay. Just, like a high level overview, really. On the Power App side of things as well, it's also got a embedded Power BI report that shows you, where you can change the filters, just like the Dataverse one. What else does it show us here as well? Like, what usage, usage report, right? So who has used what? Where is your data stored? What, you know, how many people are reportedly seen or logged into the environment? Um, what are the total app launches as well for your applications? We'll also be able to tell you that. Any daily active users across all your applications, you also be able to drill down into that as well. Okay. So it shows you for the Power Automate. It shows you for the Power Apps as well. Another one for the Power Apps while we're still in Power Apps is the location. Yeah, so it actually shows you a location report. Okay, so the location just gives you, so if you click on the tab location, so usage location, the location just gives like a map, like a view of your usage. So your original adoption, who is using, what, yeah, where are they located, what are the usage trends. You'll also be able to show you that. Sorry, it's a little bit slow, but yeah, you can also see, and it drills down to what is your app name, how many times have you launched the app, for example. It will also be able to tell you that as well. Okay. The next tab says toast errors, right? So this is more around insights into your errors, like toast error. What are the trends? What type of errors are they? What are the counts per app to help kind of like, I would say like, drive improvements in your applications. Yeah. So these toast errors are also displayed. Let me see whether that will come up. So you can also change the filters, in the last 28 days and drill down into that and report. We're talking about location, but these are just, screenshots of what I've just explained. Yeah, location, toast errors and usage reports and things like that. So that's for Power Apps, but similar to Power Apps, we also have like, your Power Automate. So Power Automate also gives you this analytics, looking at the reports it gives you. So the runs, what are the runs reports? What are the usage reports? Who created? Who shared? What are the details on all the different types of connectors that associated with your flows? It also tells you that if there's any errors within your Power Automate flows, it also gives you insights into those, cloud flows or, you know, desktop flows as well. Yeah. So the first one is, yeah, what you're seeing. Yeah, just kind of like a view, daily runs, weekly runs, monthly runs. We will be able to break it down and tell you all the runs of your flows within that specified time. Okay. Down to the usage. So the different, insights, like I said, who created the flow, right? It also drew down into who created it, what flows are already in use. If cloud flows, like I said, what types of cloud flows, how many type of cloud flows are you using or are already in use. If there's any desktop flows, you'll also be able to provide that for you as well. I like this one because yeah, so it says who created. So what's the creators when was it created, like dates, was the creator's email, like some details, and that gives you more insights into also what types of flows were created and also what kind of like trend of your flows that has been created. Yeah. Error is just basically error. It also tells you the creator of the flow, the email address, last time that error occurred, and the error types and details of that error as well. You'll also be able to tell you that, right? I know, yes, you can also go into Power Automate, to find some of this information, but as an admin, like, you have it there, on the high level, basis, just to give you some analytics into or insights into some of these errors within your flows. Yeah. Have you shared any flows? Also there's also a report on the details, what flows were shared, what different, kind of like, is there any trends within those flows within your environment? Connectors reports, yeah, which is also important. So we use obviously different connectors and associate it to our different Power Automate flows. So this is also a breakdown of, what metrics like are on the flows, like metrics like, number of calls from each flow based on each connector that you've used. What are the different flow runs? It also gives you down to the creator's email address for any of your connectors. So this is the data export option. So this is more like, if you work within Azure. So Azure Data Lake, if you want to export, some data into your Azure App Insights. I've never really, to be honest, have anything or used this, but there's also like some good documentation on Microsoft Learn around this. So if you're, working in, Azure or using Azure Data Lake, or you also build Azure App Insights or utilize Azure App Insights, this is also quite good as well, because you can use it and manage all those exports to your data lake. Yes, we talk about this. This is all around licensing. This is billing. Like, it's like you need a PhD degree to know about Microsoft or Power Platform licenses. It's getting a lot better. Yeah, we know. But as an administrator, you can also go into your billing area just to give you a summary of all your key license types that you have, or your premium licenses, or your Power Automate premiums. This is, the only place that you can actually go in and look at your Power Apps by app, and all these licenses in use. Just like I said, quick view, go in there, look at the summary box, show you all the details. And one good thing that I know about this is, and I've used this also lately, is that you can actually export. Okay. So it also shows you, say, for example, you can actually go in and click on a particular license. You can show you what license we have. But guys, remember, this is my developer plan. I haven't got much going on here. But yeah, even down to your Copilot Studio now, your Power Pages, in summary, all the different environments that you have, I think can also be displayed on here. Yeah, so just kind of like give you like a license, like a summary of your licenses. Okay, it says view details. What? It's not opening up. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, this is also, just as a super admin, just bear in mind, this is where a great way to see what licenses, when were they last used, things like that. So it's worth checking every now and again just to see what's out there for you. What licenses that you have. Yes, so we also have settings. So if you want to set up, or I would say, like, your around your tenants, you can choose to turn on some settings. You can choose to turn them off. This is also where you can come in and, for example, assign environments. Who has access to this particular environment? Who can curate trial environments, developer environments, production environments? Different things like that. Okay, so this is somewhere that you can come in. Just look at all the different areas or settings across your organization that you can provision as an administrator. Or different areas, but like I said, most importantly, as an admin, you obviously look at your developer production, trial environments. They tell you who can create developer environments, as a best practice. Do you want everyone in your organization or within that tenant, to be able to create, developer environments? It might be good, so kind of like, a bit more governance or best practice on how you can, deal with this as well. But this is, somewhere you can come in and set that as an administrator. We also have a Copilot preview page now. So this is more like a central, place where you can come in and, look at all the different insights, all the different documentations that are relevant to your Power Platform Copilot. It's still in preview. I hope they keep it, because as an administrator, it's somewhere that you can just go bang in and just look at, different object adoption, usage, how many monthly active users do you have for each particular product that are utilizing Copilot? How can you be able to track their usage? How can you be able to assess their governance controls all in one place, which is quite cool. Yeah, documentation is available also in the Copilot preview. You can go in and, any new documentation or any documentation around Copilot, you can also go in there and look at the readiness tab and select some resources there. If there's anything new, okay, it will also flag that up there within Copilot. Like I said, it's a preview preview feature, so it's not ready for production. But I hope, like I said, I hope they keep it. How do we monitor our solutions, right? So there's a couple of useful things here. I'm just gonna because of time, just fly through it. So it's also around capacity. How do you manage your storage capacity? How do you create additional instances? For example, you need if you want to create additional instances, you need to at least confirm that you have at least 1 GB of database capacity in order to be able to do that. If you ever exceed your storage capacity as an admin, you also receive email notifications allowing you, letting you know, obviously, like your overcapacity usage. Within Power Platform, there's also a notification banner. So wherever a tenant has exceeded its storage capacity, you also be able to, you will know as well. Like I said, there's heaps of documentation around this, but it's also always great as a Power Platform administrator to, continuously monitor your capacity. Within your resources as well, so based on your storage capacity, it's also good to kind of like know about the view self-service sources. Okay, so if your company has self-service license, meaning that your citizen devs can just go in and buy their own Power Platform licenses, obviously those will add a small amount of storage. So this is where you can come in and view those self-service sources that they've purchased as well. Okay. As admin is very important to also look at similar information based on storage capacity. Like I said, what details do you have? It just gives you a detailed view of your organization, what your organization is utilizing as a capacity. Okay, so if there's any actual file usage, it will also be able to tell you that. What are the top tables? How have those tables grown over time? You can also see some reports, and that'll actually be able to tell you that as well. If there's any notifications, like I said, if you're approaching capacity storage limits, there's some triggers that will be done. There will be warning notifications that an admin operator will also be alerted about. But they're all there under resources. We also talk about applications like our Dynamics 365 applications. So all the apps that has been installed on your tenant or haven't been installed. Some of them are enabled by default. This is also where you can go in and also see all that. Okay. For example, the Power Platform new settings, you can also go in here and install it. You know, some of these applications are there. Yeah. This is also another one. I think is actually a very good one. So this is where you can now go in within your admin center, manage your websites and your tenants. So basically, you just want to be able to see some information. For example, how many days are left before a trial website expires? You know, just it was not there before. So this is something that is new. Though, yeah, the security and the analytics side of things are also in preview. Yeah, but security, just monitoring your security status, and the analytics side is just kind of like, you know, what within a website, for example, who are your active daily users, who are your monthly active users, you'll be able to tell you all that. Like I said, it's still in preview, but I hope that it's still something that stays. Okay. Do you want to create or log in support requests? If you go into your help and support area, this is also where you can come in, create tickets for Microsoft, you know, get help and support, just, you know, create a new support request. And yeah, I mean, we all know if you don't, tickets get picked up faster when you raise them here as part of your Power Platform Admin Center. In my own case, I think, yeah, you keep tabs of your open or closed tickets, and yeah, and you'll be able to give you an ID, you know, contacts and things like that. So depending on your licensing, yeah, that will also depend on how fast Microsoft will contact you. Data integration, yes. Would you be able to share data? Would you be able to retrieve data from other external systems, for example, legacy systems? Yes, a bit of a process to do this, but like I said, there's also, like, you know, good documentation around this on Microsoft Learn. Um, it comes with, like, you know, Power BI report that is embedded within it that shows you, you know, your count, your runs, your execution states, and things like that. And a bit of a process, I would say, to do, but yeah, I believe every administrator can also or should also know about this. Yeah, you create your data integration projects, and all the projects that you created, you see them, you know, listed on there. Policies, mentioned that earlier. DLP policies, you set that up as a guardrail, you know, to help prevent users from unintentionally exposing data. That's basically what it is. It's a big deal, especially for administrators. It's a very important tool that you can use. Basically, you can block anything that you don't want makers to use. All right, or you can just allow a connector, for example, or, you know, or allow a connector, allow, you know, Twitter, or, you know, business connections and things like that for makers, and not allow some. Yeah, you can scope DLP based on an environment level or on tenant level. You can use it to enforce rules as well, enforce rules for your connectors and things like that. But yeah, there's a series of steps on how to, in order to enforce or create a DLP policy. Yeah, you can reach out to me if you want to go further in depth into this. Even though there's documentation in this, I know it can also be a little bit tricky if you don't know the ins and outs of it. But within the community, there's been, you know, blog posts and very good videos around this. But it is a very important area for administrators to be aware about. Okay. Just looking at the time. Yes, we talk about policies, and how do we use customer logbox for our policies as well. I don't want to go over time, so I'm just going to look at some of the last interesting feature that I want to look at here is what we call product features. So if you go onto a settings, for example, okay. So if I go into my environments and I click on just any environment, and I click into settings. So under products, there's something that we call features. Okay. So these are just things that you can configure, right, within your environment, right? Things like, obviously, you can see Copilot, you can see the one I just mentioned now, for example, environment settings behavior. needs to be enabled. It's not enabled by default. There are lots of areas here that are very important also for an administrator. Things like your Power BI visualization is also somewhere down here, which is also very good as an admin to turn that on. Okay. And yeah, like enabling, which one? There's lots of it, but because of time, all I'm saying to you is there's lots of cool product features here that you can, that are not enabled by default, that you can come in here as an administrator. You can enable that on here. Okay. And yeah, that's basically makes you more effective as an administrator. And yeah, so your environments can work, very well when you enable them. Okay. Is there any questions? How do you install Power Platform settings application on it? I just showed you there earlier. So you need to go into your resources and just install this, right? Enable it. And obviously on your environments, you can also look into your apps that will come up as a Power Platform environment settings app, which is something that is also new. So basically before on your legacy, you'll be able to look at all the different area of your environment settings, but now it's more like in a better UI that we have now. And that is also very cool. Yeah. Please reach out to me. If you have any questions, I can answer that now. But if not, you can contact me via LinkedIn. Like I said, you can never cover PPAC in 40, 50 minutes. It can never be done. There's lots of it, but this is just to give you more like a higher, I would say, overview of Power Platform Administration Center. Do you have any questions for me?
So far, I don't see any question in the comments.
Sorry, Lynn, I hope I didn't go over time. I was just trying to rush it.
Yeah, well, it's good. Like, it is sometimes we have like a lot of content, have it in the. I know it's 15 minutes too short to cover everything, but it is a good start for to have an idea to start thinking about it.
Yeah. I've also written up some blog posts as well, and within the organization that I work for now, we have lots of citizen developers or makers, I call it now.
Yeah.
And there's that drive of this is where things are on PPAC that can also just help you really out if for those that do have the security role, the administrator role, to go in and kind of like look at this as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Awesome session. Thanks for presenting at this New Zealand BizApp Summit. Yeah, all the way from UK.
Yeah, this is almost midnight, so yeah.
Yeah, I know. I checked the time. Oh my goodness, that's dedication.
I know.
Okay, since
we
don't have any question, we'll proceed to the break time, and we'll start another session in an hour time. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Have a good summit.
Yes.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.